Hi, this is group number 2. This is System Analysis and Design. The group members are Mackenzie Taggart, Christian Mena, and Hugo Vera. We are going to take a look chapter 12, Automated and Enabled Low Risk Release. The use of continuous integration and making code deployment a low risk process can be a part of everyone's daily work. The code deployment needs to be automated, repeatable, and predictable. In many cases, the deployments can be a manual process where the time-consuming, painful, tedious, and error-prone can tend to make the test less and less frequent, increasing the batch size between coding and production. Automating our deployment process, we need to have an automated mechanism that could deploy our code into production. Once that we have the process documented, we will need to simplify and automate as many of the manual steps as possible, such as packaging codes in ways suitable for deployments, creating pre-configured virtual machine image or containers, automating the deployment and configuration of middleware, copying package of files onto production servers, restarting servers, applications, or services, generating configuration files from templates, running automated smoke tests to make sure the system is working, running testing procedures, scripting, and automating database migration. This is some of the manual steps that we can make automated. Maybe we can include many more manual steps depending of the system that we are developing, or the code, and many other factors. Um, The requirements for deployment pipeline include deploying the same way into every environment. In this part, by using the same deployment mechanisms for everyone, for every environment, our production deployments are likely to be far more successful. The second one is smoke testing our deployments. During the deployment process, we should test that we can connect to any supporting systems and run a single test transaction through the system to ensure that our system is performing as designed. Number 3, ensure we maintain consistent environments. In previous steps, we created a single set environment build process so that the deployment, test, and production environments has a common build mechanisms. As we can see in this image, we can have an idea how the deployment process can be, and the deployment pipeline. This is an example we can see in this picture. Enable automated self-services deployments. When there are shared goals that span development and operations, there is transparency, responsibility, and accountability for deployment outcomes. It does not matter who performs the deployment. To better enable fast flow, we will need a code promotion process that can be performed by either deployment, development, or operation. And this affects the following steps. First, build. Our deployment pipeline must create package from version control that can be deployed to any environment, including production. Second, test. Anyone should be able to run any or all of our automatic test suite on their workstation or on our test systems. Third, deploy. Anybody should be able to deploy this package to any environment where they have access. Integrate code deployment into the deployment pipeline. Once the deployment process is automated, we can make it part of the deployment pipeline. The deployment automation must provide the following capabilities. Ensure that packages created during the continuous integration process are suitable for the deployment into productions. Show the readiness of production environments at a glance. Provide a push-button self-service method for any suitable version of the package code to be deployed into production. Record automatically for auditing and compliance purpose, which commands were run on which mechanism when who authorized it and what the output was. Run a smoke test to ensure the system is operating correctly and the configuration settings, including items such as database connecting strings, are correct. Provide fast feedback for the deployer so they can quickly determine whether their deployment was successful. Um, Decouple deployments from release. Um, Decoupling these two activities allows us to empower development and operations to be responsible for the success of fast and frequent deployments. As we can see in this image, um, we have two blocks: productions deployments, a feature release. So it is important that we can have this option to decouple deployments from the release. Environment-based release patterns. Environment-based release patterns require no change to application code. It is achieved by having multiple environments to deploy into, but only one of them receives live customer traffic. In this picture, we can see the rover is the only one that received live customer traffic. Application-based patterns to enable safer release. Implement features toggles, mechanisms to selectively enable and disable features without requiring a production code deployment. It could be rolled back easily, graceful degrees deployment, and increase our resilience through service-oriented architectures. Perform dark launch technique that allows deploy features into production without making them accessible to users. This is where we deploy all the functionality into production and then perform testing of that functionality while it is still invisible to customers. Survey of continuous delivery and continuous deployment into practice. In this case, we have continuous delivery. Um, uh, we can have developers working in small batches, working off trunk, short-lived feature branches merge regularly, trunk keep in release state, release on demand during business hours. In the case of an error, developers get fast feedback, errors fixes immediately so trunk is deployable. Versus continued deployment, we have deployment should be lows, rigs, push button, events we can perform on demand. Deep or ops, deploying goods built into production on a regular basis. Deploy to production 1x per day per developers, or automatic deploy when developers commits. Conclusions: deployment should be made entirely routine and a part of everyone's daily work. As a result, deployment times will be reduced to deliver value to customers more quickly. If the deeps and bobs teams work together, deployments will run smoothly. So, um, this was the presentation on chapter 12, Automatic and Enable Low Risk Release. I hope that you can enjoy and see you soon.